of Missionaries of Charity, which was founded by Mother Teresa, who is now known as Saint Teresa of Calcutta. He went to their home for the aged and watched a young nun who gently changed the dressing of an old man who had a seriously infected wound on his leg. The journalist was sickened by the very sight and smell of the infected wound, but at the same time, he was filled with admiration for the young nun, who seemed to show no disgust as she was cleaning that gangrenous wound. The journalist said, "I wouldn't do that for £1,000, which was quite a lot of money at the time. "Neither would I," replied the nun. "I do it for love." Jesus says the most important commandment in the law is to love God with one's entire being. That means to make God the center of our life. Once God is at the center of our life, then the second commandment, to love your neighbor as yourself, is much easier to follow. By radically connecting the love of God with love of neighbor, Jesus makes clear that these two commandments are the essence of the law of the Old Testament and the teaching of the prophets as well. God loved us first. He created us out of love. And Jesus reminds us that it is our duty to return God's love by obeying his will and being faithful to his commands. Acting with love towards our neighbor is both our duty as God's people, and it's also one of the very important ways that we show our love for God. In this context, love is not a noun. It's not merely an emotion that comes and goes. Love is a verb. It requires action. Love in Old Testament scripture meant faithfulness, obedience, and commitment. Covenant love is a steadfast love, a love of commitment and action. For all of us today, living a life filled with the love of God and love for others takes effort, it takes commitment, and it takes a deliberate act of the will. This sort of love is self-sacrificing. It's about recognizing the needs of others and then choosing to act to help in response to those needs. Acting with love towards a neighbor truly does express our love for God. Jesus himself said, "Whatever you do for the hungry, or the homeless, or the naked, or the prisoner, you do also for me." But you don't have to become a nun or go to Calcutta to show your love for your neighbor. We can do small but important things right here in our own community, such as reaching out to a family member who we haven't spoken to in a while, or giving a phone call to someone we know who is lonely, or helping a neighbor who doesn't get out much with their grocery shopping. Love of God and love of neighbor is at the very core of all of Catholic social teaching. Just imagine if we and everyone else fully applied ourselves to the effort. It would be the surest way to address the really big problems in our world, such as homelessness and poverty and racism, problems that affect so many in our society today. Following this double law of love is also the way that we can reach out to our neighbors in our own immediate community by doing little things for others with love. As Saint Teresa of Calcutta famously said, "Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love."